What's going on, everybody? Welcome back for another episode of the Bible Divided Rightly, brought to you by Applied Jesus. I am your host, Anwar Jones, and we are here for another one, right? We are back for another episode to talk about something that is really plaguing us as a society. I couldn't think of anything else to call it but the religion of sex. Make sure that you take the time to share this video. I know normally we are live on Facebook, having some technical difficulties right now, and so I'm not quite able to make the live connection, but make sure to share this because we want to make sure that this gets out. So that being said, after this break, we're going to come back and talk about the religion of sex. So what's up, y'all? I mean, we here. And thank you for those of you who have joined me here. I know that today is kind of unconventional in a sense. Normally you see it live on Facebook, you're able to scroll and just click on it on Facebook. And that ain't happening today. I know it's weird. We trying something different because Facebook is not working with me today. It's not cooperating. And I'm trying to get it together, but bear with me as we have this discussion. So today, as I said, I wanted to talk about something that kind of plagues our society in general, and it is what I call or refer to as the religion of sex. It is this thing that folks worship, this stuff that people chase after. It seems like it's all they can do is chase after sex and sexual relations, right? So much so that we've decided to start defining certain things based upon sex and gender and things of that nature. We've decided to start defining ourselves based off these things. You know, I'm a man, or I'm a woman, or I'm this, or I'm that, based off of sexual preference and sexual identity. And I want to have the discussion today. So do me a favor, announce yourselves in the comments. Let us know you're here. Let us know that you're in the building. What's happening, Jamina? Let us, like I said, let us know that you're here, because we want to make sure that we are addressing some of these things and that we're having open conversation. I want to make sure that we at least touch on some of these things. It's really important to me that we get this conversation started and going, because we have some young people that are coming up behind some of us who are going to have to deal with this even more so than what we are. Some of them are already wrestling with some of these concepts at such a young age. It's like what in the world? How is it that we're already this advanced in a sense? But I want to touch on, it's Matthew chapter 5. Once again, we're doing this a little unconventionally because stuff is not cooperating, y'all. Today just seemed like one of them days when my stuff said, nope, we don't care what you do. We're not working. We don't care what you do. We don't care how you do it, but we're not working. So I'm doing my best here with what I've got to work with. Hopefully this pops up right. But I want to make sure that we're covering this topic and that we're really addressing some of the finer details here, right? So here we are in Matthew chapter 5, and we're going to be touching on we're going to be starting in verse 27 and kind of moving from there. But it says here, ye have heard it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not commit adultery. Already, we're starting off with a verse where I've heard it said that this word only applies to married people. I was talking to somebody the other day, in fact, and they told me that this particular verse is only talking about married folk, that they're the only ones that's got to worry about that's got to worry about this particular verse. And it's just weird to me, this kind of thought process, when you see the wording that comes after, right? So this is Jesus talking, and he's saying, ye have heard that it was said. Basically, it's kind of like a modern day preacher today saying the Bible says, thou shalt not commit adultery. So he's quoting the law, right? Thou shalt not commit adultery. That's one of the 10 commandments that we got working with here, right? But I say unto you, this is verse 28, that whoso looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. Okay. Now, I don't see anywhere in here where Jesus stops to take the time to only address married folk. But I've heard some people saying that because adultery only applies, quote unquote, to married folk, that clearly Jesus was only talking to married folk. So I want to ask y'all. I want to throw this out there for y'all. Maybe somebody can help me out. Is Jesus only talking to married folk here? I mean, maybe y'all got something I need to know that I don't realize here. Is Jesus only talking to married folk? Because last I checked, whosoever kind of includes any and everybody. And even if you look at that word in its original Greek language, it kind of refers to anybody who can look, right? So whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. Doesn't that mean that he's not just talking to married folk? Maybe, like I said, maybe y'all can help me out. You know, this is a discussion. This is a conversation. You understand? Yeah, maybe y'all can help me out, because I got some folks out here that's legit standing committed to this, that this is only talking to married folks. Wait a minute, here we go. It says, no, it's talking to everybody, because if it was only talking to married people, he would have just said husband, wives. I agree, right? Jesus would have flat out called out some folks. He would have said, yo, husbands that look on a woman to lust have committed adultery already, right? So it's interesting that he makes this connection, though. He jumps from thou shalt not commit adultery. He takes the law and superimposes it on the heart. It goes from beyond just the act of committing adultery into it goes beyond the act of committing adultery into even just the thought. Just the thought of doing this qualifies me for being guilty now. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here. Whenever the word has been to specific groups of people, they've said it prior to the word given. Indeed, I agree, right? So usually when somebody's talking to a specific set of people, like Paul in 2 Timothy, he says husbands, or he says wives. We notice this throughout the scripture. When somebody's talking to a particular set of people, they call them people out, right? Like this wasn't some random this wasn't some random, oh wait, I want to talk to married folks real quick, right? Like this wasn't that. And if it was that, then it's kind of like, wait a minute, Jesus, how did we get there, right? So we see here, and part of the reason we know that is because when you just go up a little bit, he says, you have heard it said of old time, thou shalt not kill. And whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment, right? So he's making it clear that he's not just talking to men or women or this is thou shalt not kill. And the reason I'm going back up is because he's saying all of this in the same breath, right? All of this is following back to back to back. So we know that we're not just dealing with an isolated instance of, oh, now all of a sudden I want to talk to married people, because here he is talking to anybody, because anybody can get angry. He says, whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment. But he goes on and say, but I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whosoever shall say to his brother Raka shall be in danger of the council. Raka basically meaning stupid, or you fool, or you understand how we talk about folks sometimes. He said, they shall be in danger of the council, but whosoever shall say thou fool shall be in danger of hellfire, right? So he's taking murder and making it even with hatred in your heart. So now he's leveled, he's taken it away from just committing murder. Now he's put hatred on the same level as committing murder. Now we're looking at this thing from a different realm and a different perspective. It is the same thing that he does with, it's the same thing he does when we get down here with thou shalt not commit adultery. I say unto you, whosoever, I want to make sure that we got this clear in the head. Whosoever means anybody, everybody. If you're looking at a woman to lust after her, you have already committed adultery. It's as if you have already committed the act of sexual immorality known as adultery. And I want to do something real quick. Maybe y'all will join me in on it, but I want to make a connection really quickly. The children of Israel, I can't remember if it's in Ezekiel that this is said, or maybe it's in Jeremiah. I think what I'm thinking of is in Ezekiel, but God refers to the children of Israel as a bride, right? And he gets to talking about them and how he spread his skirt out over them, right? And he said, it was that day when I spread my skirt out over you that I made you mine, right? This was a customary thing. They would have been very familiar with this. He said, it was that day I made you mine, right? You belong to me. You entered into a covenant with me. So anybody that wants to say, hey, this is just a married thing, adultery is only something that can be committed by married folks. Well, I want you to understand that your first marriage is to the Lord. If you never got married to a man or a woman, you never got married to another person on this earth, I want you to know that your first marriage is unto the Lord. And so when you get in your mind that, oh, well, I don't qualify for adultery, Jesus just removed that. He just took that off of he just took that off of the table, right? He just qualified you for adultery, since you want to say that it's only between a man and a woman. Adultery can only happen between one married party and another party, whether they're married or not. But somebody involved has to be married. Well, you are married. You're married to the Lord. And I know to you that seems super spiritual or whatever the case may be. But I want to encourage you to understand that a covenant, that a marriage is a covenant made between one party and another party. My wife and I have a covenant, right? It is a covenant before God. It is a bond that is unbreakable before the Lord. Now, we stand in this covenant and we operate in this covenant. It is an agreement that we operate inside of. We have this understanding, right? And if we bring somebody else inside of that covenant, we have broken it, right? I can't just go out and lay with whoever I want. Now, I can't just go out and create emotional attachments that would compromise our covenant. And a lot of what we're doing now is creating emotional attachments. And I promise I'm getting to the religion of sex. We're creating emotional attachments based off of sexual desire, right? So I've invited this person into my covenant. Think about this through Instagram, right? Because things like Instagram, you get these pictures of these women that pop up. It's so easy. Look, there's a lot of I spend so little time on Instagram now because maybe with the algorithm, maybe with what I've interacted with in the past, whatever is going on, it seems like every time I click on Instagram now, what pops up in front of me is bodies. And look, I can't run with that no more. So I have to almost avoid the Instagram app because whatever it is that's going on, I might just need to make me a new Instagram account or something, because when I go on there to try and do things, these are the type of things that's popping up on there. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, now I have to guard my eyes because I don't want to give occasion for me to lust in the flesh or lust after the flesh. And I don't want to create any type of a stumbling block that would cause controversy or contention to come between my wife and I don't want to bring anyone or anything else inside of my covenant. But the common reaction is to look at it anyway and go hide. To go hide that thing and continue looking at it. And the more you look at that, the more you end up diving into things like pornography and things of that nature, where you dive into an entire world of just sexual immorality. And I need it to be understood right now that these are things that have already been spoken that are not supposed to be named among us. These are things that have already been spoken that we're not supposed to be associated with, but it's so easy for us to slip into those things. And even to go a little bit deeper, we find that when we slip into those things, it always is accompanied by shame. It's always accompanied by guilt. Why? Because we know we shouldn't have been involved in that. We know that's not something that we should have, that should be named among the activity or the conduct that that is becoming of a saint. But we involve ourselves in it anyway. Why? Because it's pleasing to our eyes. It's pleasing to what it is that we want to see. Why? Because this flesh just wants to be satisfied. This stuff that we refer to as flesh just wants to be satisfied. It just wants what it wants. And the scary thing is, the more you feed this, the more you chase death. Because to be carnally minded is enmity with God. It is literally feeding. This can only go to the grave. This stuff right here, the only thing it can do is die. As much as it is programmed to stay alive, as much as it is programmed naturally to live, the only thing it can finally receive is death. Why? Because it's been so impacted by sin. The stain of sin exists within it. And the wage for sin is death. This body has to pay the wage for sin. This body eventually has to go into the ground. This body eventually has to be disposed of, right? So the problem is, when you begin to interact with things merely based upon what this body is telling you, well, I feel like I can do this, or I feel that, or if I woke up one day and said, I feel like a woman, that does not make me any more woman than I already am. I'm not suddenly a woman because tomorrow I wake up and say I feel like one. That it doesn't. I'm sorry, but biology doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. It's interesting. My wife and I, we were watching a movie on Netflix, and I can't even think of the name of it. But we're watching this movie, and these people figured out a way to go to sleep and to travel through wherever they've already been before, and ultimately this man figures out a way to go to sleep and wake up inside of a woman's body. Now, this is crazy. It was, well, to back up, it was clever writing on their behalf. Whoever wrote this story, it was actually a really clever story, but some of the undertones inside of it were just kind of crazy, because it's like, okay, a man inside of this story finally succeeded at what some of these men in this life want to do, which is become a woman. Like, this man is literally inside of a woman's body. It's not the conception. It's not him saying, hey, I feel like a man trapped inside of this body. This really was a man whose consciousness was inside the body of a woman. And when you see this, when you look at this, you begin to realize that these are some of the things that they're trying to program us to believe are okay. These are some of the things they're trying to program us to accept and to acknowledge and to operate in going forward. This is what they want us. And when I say they, I just mean those, the principalities and the powers of the air. I'm not talking about some hidden government or some ghost place. I'm specifically talking about the enemy and all of his plots and schemes and plans to get us to accept this agenda that he has for us to debauch. Is that the word I'm looking for? That's not the word I'm looking for. Essentially, to disrespect the image of God, to defile. That's the word I want. To defile the image of God and make it less than by accepting something that it's not supposed to be involved in. He has convinced us, or is trying to convince us, that these things are acceptable, that these things are that these things are things that we should participate in on a regular basis, and that these are beliefs that we should be holding in our hearts. It's scary when you think about it. What's going on, Cuzzo? Good to see you in the building. It's scary when you think about it, how effective they are at moving certain beliefs into our lives. Here's what I mean. So now they introduced a bill. I don't think it passed, but they introduced a bill called HR 5, I believe it is, where essentially, and I don't want to mistake the bill. You can go look it up, but some of my interpretation of it is essentially they've taken discrimination and disagreement and kind of lumped them together and said that you cannot discriminate or involve yourselves in hate speech to anyone of same sex or anyone of the LGBTQ ABCD XYZ community, right? You cannot disagree with those ideologies, and to do so can be punishable by law. Like I said, I know the bill was introduced. I know it passed. I think it passed the Senate, and it's waiting in the House. One of the two. Look, I'm not entirely up on game when it comes to some of these governmental things. What I understand is that they're so focused on passing some of these things that they are willing to ignore the rights of other people in order to make sure that these laws get passed, that these protections are put into place. And I'm not mad at whoever you choose to sleep with. You go sleep with whoever you want, but don't say that God is the one that endorsed it. Don't continue to call it holy when you know that he doesn't agree with it. And then don't get upset when it's spoken that it's not pleasing to the Lord who created you. And now you want to say, oh, well, I don't care. Well, just don't care what it is that he says and go do what you want to do. I'm not advertising that's what you should do. What I'm saying is don't mix the two and try and live this double life of holiness yet profane. A form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. Don't do this to yourself. Don't do this to the Lord, who is your first, once again, your first spouse. Okay, the Lord is the first person that you're married to. He's the first person that you're in covenant agreement with. He's the first person that you are enjoined with. Soul to soul, right? This is the first person. He is the one who wants the most intimate relationship with you that you can ever possibly have. And so don't disregard him or deny him that, when you could just as easily have made yourself available unto him so that you could know your purpose and know what it is that you're actually meant to do. But instead, we've been deceived. The enemy has deceived us by and large, because what he has done is he's convinced us, and I promise you, he's convinced us that, well, it's okay. Same-sex marriages, it's okay. It's no problem with that. It's okay. Don't worry about it. It's encouraged. We see it in every single television show. It's becoming it's becoming the new acceptable thing. We gotta see it on every program. It's very difficult, almost impossible, to find a program that doesn't involve it. It's almost scary how it's almost like it must be there. It must be involved in some shape, form, or fashion. And ain't nobody trying to always see that. There have been times where I've had to have a conversation with my daughter that I wasn't intending to have at the time, because this thing popped up on screen. Now, let it be known that obviously these are conversations that we have to have. These are conversations that we're supposed to be having anyway. But the point is, at that time, I wasn't necessarily prepared to have it. I just wanted to watch a TV show. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just wanted to watch TV. But now all of a sudden, because this religion of sex, this religion of I can be whatever gender I feel like being today. I can operate and function however I want. It's a self-satisfying religion. And I call it a religion because it has its own rules. It has its own way that it's regulated. It really is becoming its own religion. It truly is. It's sex is something that folks are worshiping at this day. And the reason that I bring up the scripture about whosoever lusteth is because it's because we don't control our lusts that we've run into this problem. It's because we don't control our lusts that try to overtake us that we continually run into this issue. And if we continue to not control our lusts and encourage others to not control their lusts, we're going to continue to dive deeper and deeper and deeper down this rabbit hole of gender acceptance, if you will. And I just don't see how that is the norm in any shape, form, or fashion when the Lord says that it's not. I just don't see it when God said he made man in his image, and then he came along and woman came from the rib and she was fashioned. Like, I just don't see how we got to man deciding he's a woman. Excuse me. I just don't get to how we decide man deciding he's a woman just because, I feel like I'm a woman. I don't see how we got there and how it logically makes sense, because the next step to that is things like a man deciding, well, I'm a pedophile, and so I acknowledge myself as a child, and so I should be able to sleep with children. That's some of the next logical conclusion that we have there. That's some of the next logical progression, because sin begets sin, and eventually that thing begins to move to a point to where it starts to pull you deeper and deeper into your own profanity, into your own profane babblings. You begin to believe this stuff more and more until finally you start to convince yourself that more and more of these evil things that you know you shouldn't be doing, it's okay. The longer you stay around sin, the more you're willing to accept it, which is why we need to stand up and speak out against this newly established, not even newly, it's been around for a while, but this ideology that I can change my gender whenever my mind changes. I can change what I am at the moment of a thought. It's not the it's not the way God designed us. While your thoughts can determine many things, while your words can determine many things, they cannot change what God has already established. They cannot override what God has done. You don't have that kind of power. And I need you to understand that there's at no point did you have that kind of power. So when we look at the word, we must accept the word for the value that it has, for the power that it has, and move accordingly. We have to stop thinking that we can make certain changes, certain adjustments, because now we've stepped into the place of God. When you read through Leviticus, and he says, "Don't trim your beards. I am the Lord. Don't make markings in your flesh. I am the Lord. Don't sleep with animals. I am the Lord." He keeps reminding you that he's God for a reason, because he understands that you're going to get to a point where you're going to want to start making certain decisions. And what he's really telling you is, I need you to come and submit to me. I need you to understand that this is a heart issue that has to be addressed. All of these things that you want to do, that you see, we just saw earlier that lust is something that starts in the heart, but it's equal to adultery. Why? Because sin is sin. All of it's going to kill you. Okay, all of it is going to take you out. They all demand the same payment. All of it. Doesn't matter what sin you're involved in, whether you Kirk Franklin and you got a potty mouth that need a little bit of soap to come at it, or you're somebody who's involved in watching pornography or even performing pornography. All of these things are going to get you the same result, which is death, right? All of these things have the potential to take you out of here if you don't submit. Right? If you don't make a decision to say, I'm no longer going to perform those things, I'm no longer going to chase those things. Lord, I'm submitting this area of my life unto you. I will no longer give my members to this aspect anymore. I will no longer yield my members towards these sexual acts. I'm not saying that the sexual acts are wrong. What I'm saying is they belong inside of the covenant. We have to understand that just because, I'm not doing that sin, that doesn't matter. The sin that I'm doing is enough to get me the payment of the worst sin, as we want to call it, because we want to think that there's big sin and little sin, right? All of it can get the same payment, but all of it can get the same forgiveness. Don't think that just because you're so deeply entrenched in sin that you cannot receive forgiveness. You've already, in fact, been forgiven. Jesus already did the atoning work of dying on the cross so that you can come from out of darkness and be translated into his marvelous light. That word translated means to be converted, to move from one state to another state. You are no longer of this nature or this dynamic anymore, because you've been moved from that over here into this. It's almost like he comes in and transforms you completely. Indeed, they can all get the same payment of hell, but can also receive the same forgiveness from God, because God's grace does not It has no limits. It is capable of interacting with all of us. It is capable of touching every single one of us. He asks the question, he says, is my arm too short that it can't save? Of course not. Well, what he was really demonstrating there was that I'm powerful enough and I'm capable enough of reaching you regardless of where you're at. I'm capable enough of reaching you no matter where your depravity takes you. I can meet you there and lead you out. No matter where your mind can choose to go, I can go into the depths of the very hell that you dive into and bring you back out. Call on him before it's too late. Now is a good time to call on him before it's too late. Now is a good time to reach out to him, to seek him while he may yet be found. Because one thing I know for certain is that the day of the Lord is here. The man is manifesting day by day, and we all got to get it together. I know I made mention of Kirk Franklin, and I know he's been a hot topic as of late. And while this video is not about him, and I don't desire to make it about him, my point is this: all of us have to take the time to examine ourselves, to acknowledge ourselves, and to get ourselves in order. Because all of us can do good work for the Lord and end up missing it. All of us can do great work for the Lord and still have spots in our lives where we still don't get it right. It's an opportunity for us to see I can come a little higher. It's an opportunity for us to acknowledge I can go a little bit deeper in the Lord. It's an opportunity for God to show us I'm still not quite what he wants me to be. Because none of us have arrived. None of us have made it, right? But all of us need to take the time to sort ourselves, to work out our salvation with fear and trembling, and make sure that we get it together. Look, life is short. This life is but a vapor. It comes and goes. It passes just like that. Don't let yours be so quick that you don't take time aside to acknowledge God and make yourself right by him, to accept what he's done for you and enter into his grace so that you can enter into his rest at the appointed time. Look, y'all, I'm done for the day. This was a short one. This was one that we were just wanted to come on here and talk about some of these things. I just wanted to make sure that we put this out there, that lust is not something that you just get to play with and just move on from, right? Because eventually that lust is going to conceive death. Eventually that lust, if not properly tamed, if not brought back in order and not exercised and operated in the appropriate moments, that lust is going to feed you with death. And it's going to feed you with a death that is ultimately final, a death you can't recover from, which is a spiritual death. It's a death that you can't just hop up out the grave and say, oh, I'm okay. You can't recover from this death, not of your own power. So I implore you, get it together while you still can. Seek the Lord while he still may yet be found. We out here.